Good morning and welcome to the Omega Tech Gaming Breakfast Podcast. I'm Zodiac. And yeah, I am. Big surprise, Gary. And today we're going to be talking about esports and how it affects our community and culture and a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to let everyone introduce himself before we start.
I'm Garrett, better known as Magix.
I'm Dipty.
Fiji's chocolate.
Gary, Gsquared.
I'm Phil, known as Juju. Chris, I'm known as Insidious.
I just had to get rid of that
Victor over
AKA.
here.
It just sounded weird.
Better known as Dark Angel.
Alex, people call me Jagd. I'm David. Everybody knows me as David.
I'm D, known as I said, fuck elephants.
I'm Dom. Call me Omegaxis.
I'm Jared. I'm Haradani.
And everyone sounds quite depressed because IHOP completely screwed up our order. We're going to go ahead and start off the breakfast like that. Although everybody's enjoying their stuff, we just had to go ahead and put that out there. I paid for Iron Splasher. They ain't putting no Iron Splasher in the milk. They gonna get blown the fuck up.
Next he's going to their bathroom to blow it the fuck up.
I don't have my chocolate milk. I keep reaching for a drink, but there's none.
I've never heard an ice age be so heated.
Swallow.
The truth.
Except when he talks about elephants.
So,
Don't talk about it.
So
Fuck
Victor,
elephants.
you probably know the most about esports as a whole out of everyone here. I could be wrong about that, but you're also kind of the team leader for our league team here.
That's
So-
right.
Damn straight.
Yeah, that's right.
So
He's not our jungler. He's the damn coach.
I'm gonna take you out.
He's just a jungler.
the real question is, when are you gonna let Phil on our team?
Damn.
Oh, no.
What are you talking about? Phil's coaching our team.
Yeah, he
Good
is.
luck to you.
That miss.
I'll listen to the jungler first.
But seriously, so how do you think esports directly influences us? What do you think about esports as a whole?
I think esports is an important part of our gaming culture. I mean, it's just like regular sports for some people. People want to watch and want to enjoy the sport that they love, whether it be football, baseball, or whatever. And for us gamers, we enjoy playing video games, but we don't get that same limelight style where we get to watch and enjoy people play at the highest and most competitive level. That's what esports does for us, whether it be League of Legends or CSGO or StarCraft or whatever. And I think the big thing is that in the West, the culture for esports is much lower key than it is in the East with Korean esports. I think StarCraft has 2 dedicated TV channels, and just about everybody in Korea knows what StarCraft is. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I would love to walk into a place that has that would normally have basketball playing or something, and just see League of Legends or Smite on that screen. That would make me feel so.
A sports bar watching
amazing.
LCS, dog.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
Don't get
I
me
would-
wrong, as cool as those channels are, it was really annoying when there's nothing on in Korean TV and I have to sit there and watch StarCraft for a whole day.
Learn StarCraft.
So, I'm
So
good.
do you think there should be drug testing in esports?
Yeah.
Got that Adderall.
Whoa!
They make you click faster. Seriously.
No.
I clicked so hard I smashed my mouse.
No, Adderall for days. I'm so focused.
You see what road rage does to you in bonding of ice? It makes you fast as hell.
So
Take Ritalin.
yeah, Ritalin, Adderall, anything.
But I mean, no, that's a serious question, though.
I mean,
I really don't
I
think.
honestly think. Sorry.
see, the reason why I asked that question is because it's those serious topics like that would be associated to the NFL and major league sports and stuff like that,
All joking
where it's
aside-
taken very, very seriously. But for the gaming world, we just kind of address it what would you do with drugs and all that.
All
other stuff.
joking aside, though, honestly, you should, because there are drugs that both prohibit your activity and also allow you to do way more. That allow you to be way more perceptive and would give you an unfair advantage.
The other thing about the drug testing in esports would be that if we did stuff like that in esports, we would hold our players to a more accountable level, just like they do in professional sport. And it's something that we have to do. I mean, we already do it right now in certain things, like with making sure that all the hardware is okay and nobody's cheating. unlike some CS:GO players. Just saying, we've had some incidents lately.
Jordan.
Not here.
Jordan.
He's talking
Jordan.
about the news. He's
I'm
talking
not about the news. I'm talking about the infamous
Aimbot scandal.
aimbots and walk through walls and stuff like that. Anyway.
So, what do you think as a culture we can do to kind of like bridge that gap to where people on a normal level will take our competition, our culture seriously, you know, when we go to compete? Like, what can we do to get people like Little Miss Dipty over here to actually say, you know what, this is something that is professional, it is real, it is something that deserves the same type of praise the NFL gets?
We could blow up the fucking media for one thing.
Yeah, we need more exposure, and we need more positive exposure.
Yes,
Because Fox News, CNN, all those, if anything like this gets any sort of light whatsoever, they are there talking down on it left and right.
That's the big thing that we need is we need positive exposure, and we need to introduce people into it and get people into it in a controlled environment at first, and then once we start moving it to a bigger and bigger stage, we need to conduct ourselves with professionalism, and we need to make sure that, you know, we're treating it like it's a real sport, like it's important, because it is important. It's important to our community, and it should be important to others to respect that at some point. We can't let people just be like, oh, they're gamers, all they do is sit on their butts all day on a fucking couch and play video games.
Right.
Now, with the same argument, there's people that are like, oh, those are just people out there just having fun out on the football field.
Right.
They ain't going to do anything later in their life. And then look what the NFL's turned into.
Yeah, and
But-
I feel like with that, though, there's always going to be that one person that's always going to get the exposure right back to how we didn't want it to be.
But right now the tables
how many of those
aren't
are in the
even
NFL?
or
Michael
anywhere
Vick
near
exists.
even.
Exactly. Everyone.
T.O.
So, negative, I think the opposite. I think we need more negativity happening to show that we handle it responsibly. I think that type of, it's kind of like reverse psychology. We show that things are happening, not saying that I want them to bad to happen, but we show that there is cheating in competition, that we show that there is ethics in competition, like people breaking ethics, people like using slanderous terms against teammates and all that other stuff, but they show the actual structure of it doing something about it. Like, hey, you know, that we take this so serious that this person is banned from our country. You know, even doing it.
Yeah,
and then when you get that type of publicity, that's where they're just like, those guys don't mess around. Like, gamers don't mess around.
You've already gotten to a point where ESPN is already covering it to an extent. ESPN is already covering it.
Yeah, they hosted the international.
Right, and so you know the second part is, you know, Dota 2 last year's invitational, they had $1 million prize for each person on the team that came in first place. There was a $10 million purse for Dota 2, and Dota 2 is really second when it comes to League of Legends when you're talking about how
MOBA.
many people are playing it.
Yeah.
So my question is, you know, you've got all these positive things happening. You've got live media coverage from ESPN. I'm not saying their announcers are worth anything, because I think a lot of it comes down to if the announcers are good, people are going to keep watching. But the more money is involved in something, I mean, look at today's culture. The more money involved, the more popular it's going to be. So I think
another thing we need are celebrities, like people who actually like have personalities behind esports. That people are just like, I watch esports because of this. Now, the NFL, soccer, whatever sport you pick, you can easily identify like some of their high performing celebrities and their personalities, and people will watch sports specifically because they want to see those people play.
Sadly, some of the people that we could have used for that, they've passed away, like Robin Williams.
And there's, I mean, like, the other thing is we have a lot of those celebrities, but they're like so isolated into the gaming culture. We need something that will help bridge the gap, like Robin Williams, like Ice Age said.
Who's known in other media.
Right, because I mean, like, I follow League of Legends, and I can name you like 15 or 16 pros that are like super up there. There's Faker. Faker's the Korean Michael Jordan of League of Legends. He is literally considered the best player in the world in all positions.
What about
And we shouldn't even just we shouldn't even segregate this to just like MOBAs. There's also the fighting games. We got
Daigo, Sako.
Daigo and Sako.
Because we got Justin Wong.
Yeah, Wong.
Yeah.
But MOBA is the
hype on
highest
live
grossing
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think it's quoted right now. It's $501 million this year.
Yeah.
Just above MMOs of like 499 million.
Yep, and that's just U.S. That's just the money the U.S. MOBAs make. They're not counting all the other countries. Like, and that amazes me. 500 plus million.
The other thing that's not getting big attention is the amount of viewership that we get. Season 4 World Championship of the League had more viewers watching it than the final game of the World Series.
Oh, remember they sold out the Staples Center?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
But see, we talk about it like this most faded memory ever. Like, you know,
Right.
these events need to be so iconic that people are just like, it honestly opened my eyes to the industry. Like, someone like her is just like, wow, you know, because of that event here in, let's say, Lawton or something like that, like, that really stood out to me. And there is a prominent following of gamers. Like, there are just a lot of them, and, you know, they take this seriously. Like, when we take up a stadium to do our events, like the hotels, everybody else should be like, gamers are in town. But we haven't kind of reached that point yet. Not at least not long. Maybe in like Vegas, they're just like, wow, you know, Eve goes there. All types of people go to Vegas to do competition.
Yeah, because Evo's.
The other thing about it also is the fact that you also have to worry about the media coverage because Brian Gumbel was all over that, even though that guy needs to shut the hell up.
I mean, Evo had what 4,000 people last year when we went, and 2,000 of them were there for Street Fighter alone.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
that is a lot of people.
That's a lot. Just from
It was
just
the
from
building
best
wasn't
two.
big enough. We had people sitting in the floors.
Yep.
Our building,
The
we
whole-
had people. We had people sitting down in the front row because I was one of them. I was sitting on the floor watching the Street Fighter finals. I was like, yeah.
Best time of my
life.
economy package, though.
Yeah, you understand?
The
They
thing
were,
is, it's like all the entire front, like there's a front row seat, and then there's the entire area in front of the front row. That's where everybody was sitting.
I was
Everybody
sitting
was
there.
just there for that hype, just waiting for whoever won.
But that just goes to show that they didn't
All
even
that
take it
black
serious.
blue hype.
Like, they did not expect gamers to show up in those numbers.
Right.
They
No,
said
why they moved it
did.
to- they
Like,
did.
if you look at how big the area that they
unless
held
they
up,
were charging for floor space, they did not.
they weren't charging for floor.
Exactly. So that means like they did not anticipate, like they
It being
didn't take
that
it
big.
seriously enough to say, "Hey, this is huge. We want more space than less." You know, just to make sure.
Well, I think they did that for this year because they rented out the Paris.
yeah, the Bali's Paris Hotel, and it's.
Well, see, and that's exactly the reason. Was last year's was the first. You don't really know what your turnout's
Yeah.
going to be. Even if you do pre-order tickets, you're still going to have people coming in at the very end.
Yeah.
Oh
A couple of years ago, when I went to GamesCon, it was phenomenal. I mean, it was obviously like the 5th or 6th year that it was running or whatever, but it was just phenomenal. How many people showed up at this convention center just to wander around, not even necessarily play games, just for the community that showed up,
Just to be there.
the vendors that showed up,
Cosplayers.
cosplayers. I mean, it was phenomenal. But they had it planned out, and they knew how large they needed an entire convention center for it.
Yeah, the same thing happened down with QuakeCon last year. Apparently, everybody who went to A-Con stayed over in the hotel a couple extra weeks just so they could see the international quick live tournament. They brought in people from Italy, from Brazil. It got overfull. They couldn't fit people into places. People were sleeping outside and all that kind of stuff. So
Well, there's no doubt that people actually like care for video games, but do you think that competition is going to bridge that gap for the world, like for just I guess mainstream and normal people to actually say like, hey, gaming is serious?
Well, I think League of Legends did a really good job last year bringing Imagine Dragons in to do the theme song
Yes.
for League. I mean, it was
The World Championship.
Yeah, especially in South Korea, wherever they actually had an entire stadium, and then Imagine Dragons did an entire gigantic show for them.
That's awesome.
I think one thing. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I think the other thing that they really did really well with last year's World Championship is that they broke it down across 4 stages, and they brought it to different cities all throughout the East. Because it was in Taipei, it was in Singapore, it was in Hong Kong, then it finally went to Seoul, Korea for the finals. And they moved it from city to city to city, and they tried to keep that audience broad and make sure that everybody could be involved in it. And that's what I think is helping esports is when we try and include everybody and bring it to different locations to bring it, because it's not always just going to be Los Angeles for whatever big Staples Center event, or it's not always going to be Las Vegas for Evo. It has to be everywhere, and we have to hit every audience. That's
right. So I think how we're approaching, we keep bringing up the other, like the overseas stuff,
right?
And it's like we're all trying to address it as Americans, like our nation. You know, when we try to take that snapshot of our nation, like where is it missing? Like,
well, I actually have something. I think what would help bridge, like, excuse me, what would help like bridge that gap is same thing with like high school sports teams. Like if League of Legends was a high school sport. Or middle school sport, any extra curricular activities that would bring the families in, that would, you know, if you could get your credits just like any other sport, like through high school, through college, whatever, I think that would help bridge that social gap. Like, yeah, it is serious.
League of Legends is a collegiate sport now. They just
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
season 2 of their collegiate league, which they divided into 4 regions, and it's pretty impressive the amount of teams they get. And there's some colleges up in the Northeast that are currently recruiting from all throughout North America. And this is the type of thing that we need secondary parties to work with us, like colleges, high schools, whatever type of organizations that want to get into this scene and, you know, use us as a way to promote themselves and to be a part of the community. That's what we need. We need more exposure.
We need to bring it
There's
home.
one more thing about, like, for one, like, why I don't see this happening for us anytime soon is just because, big time, like I said, it's the media coverage. Because when you look at Awesome Games Done Quickly and how much they raise for charity, and yet nobody really looks at the positive things, as the positive aspects of gaming, especially with that.
Yeah, I mean, Awesome Games Done Quickly raised
that
$1 million the past 2 times they've done that.
Yeah, and when
charity.
you can't look at that,
Yeah, and it
you
wasn't
can't
the first
see-
time they've done it.
and you can't see anything past that, like, because most normal people will, like, never know about that.
Right.
So they like, especially if you go on me, especially you see Anita Sarkeesian all up on ABC and all that crap.
We don't need to start that conversation.
Hot button topic.
I'm gonna throw this out there right now. Gamergate on both sides, go fuck yourselves. We're talking about that shit.
Okay, all right. Jordan brought up probably the most vital and valuable point that I would say, like, if parents can actually get it to where they take it seriously, to where they want to get their youth involved with it, you know, we have to basically make it a generational thing.
Start a tradition.
Yeah, to where it's just like, yes, I have soccer, football, basketball, baseball, video games, etc., etc. And then they're just like, well, my kid likes video games. I want their brain to be exercised versus like them just running track all day. You know what I mean? So
the other thing with parents is they need to see results.
Yeah.
Because if they see that this is like both like good for their mind and also they're actually getting like they're actually making money off of this, then the parents are going to they're all for it.
I think the big events is a testament that we are making progress.
Because like I'm just looking at it in schools, I see how much the parents they you know they won't support kids in the classroom, but they'll support the kids and bring them out to sporting events.
Right.
So it's the same thing. If they see, oh, my kids can make a career in this, maybe I should bring them out to these sort of things and get them involved.
Yeah,
in this.
and it's the thing where, well, like, yeah, there's gonna be some prejudice among the parents, but if this could get to open the eyes of the parents who are open-minded and stuff like that, I think it'll bring even the prejudiced parents around and say, hey, this is a good thing.
Right.
It's one of the reasons why I think the college teams are one of the best things. It shows people that you can actually go to college for this.
Right.
But not only that, I don't see why more colleges aren't picking up. It's cheaper than actually getting a sports team.
Right.
You don't have to invest in a field or
Right.
Maintenance,
or anything like that.
Oh,
You
man.
invest in
sports
community
equipment,
season, you have to
health.
keep on that.
That's why Cameron's football team
Yeah, let's say
takes
just
so
look at
hard.
Cameron.
Yeah.
They don't even have a football team, but they have a football stadium
Well,
that all the high schools use.
No,
Whoa.
They wanted to raise tuition just to get a football team. For an esports team, you don't even have to do that.
Right.
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 An esports team would take 5 computers and some students that want to do it, and somebody who can fucking watch a classroom. One sponsor, and that's it.
Maybe a little bit more than 5 computers.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, like for your main.
For your main, like, yeah.
Yeah,
you got your varsity. You got varsity, then you got, not varsity.
To take it.
Redshirt league players. I broke my wrist.
Got carpal tunnel, man.
I need ice. I need ice.
Insurance don't cover it.
Grab it up.
But to take it seriously, you would.
I need Bengay.
To take it seriously, you would need someone that was like a coach figure. Just like you are, Victor. You would need someone that would be a part of that curriculum.
Right.
That would know the language, know the meta, know the rankings.
Take it seriously from an educational
and the computers themselves would probably cost $600 to $800, depending on what they were used for.
Right, but I mean, the point was that
overall it would be cheaper.
Yeah, it's a cheap buy-in.
Way
for them to be able
cheaper.
to do that. The other thing is like with I'm trying to remember what the college is in the Northeast that's currently doing it, but they're recruiting players from around the United States. They're giving them scholarships to come play League of Legends for them and attend their college. That's an easy way for colleges to draw attention to themselves and be like, oh, we don't have the best basketball or football team, but we
my
are
league team
number 2
smashes
in our
you.
region with League of Legends. Come play for us. We have a great computer program. We have a great multimedia program. We have a great CS program.
Exactly.
Here's another thing about
CS program.
The other thing about
program.
the other big thing about that though is
talking about
like there's less of a risk on players for esports than there is for players who actually play sports because yeah, like there's a lot of football. Like one of the biggest problems right now in football is concussions.
Right.
You wouldn't have to, like, unless somebody got hit in the head with a monitor, you wouldn't be hearing about it.
Don't worry, Dan's not going pro yet.
Jumps over a table and hits somebody in the face with a.
You better kill my team. I'm taking your ass out.
I mean, I can see now, the college would be like, hey, our people, when they leave our college, at 5 minutes, they at least have 36 CS.
That's not fun.
That is hilarious.
But on the real though, like,
Careful.
All right, so let's hear something from a non-gamer, someone who's just looking from the outside, third-person perspective, outside looking in.
Phil.
You know, we are expecting a child. Miss Dipty Goodwin, would you allow this child to be a part of an esports team?
Think
like
about
at a high school level or even middle school level? What do you think?
So if you had asked me this question 6 years ago, I probably would have said no. And the only reason is, being married to Gary and being exposed to the gaming world, I've learned a lot because growing up, video game for us was just, pastime or, something like people would just sit on their butts on their couch and be lazy and play all day. That's not healthy. That's the stigma that, the video gaming world has. So being with Gary and learning all the stuff that our nephew Kevin, he was 2 years old, I think? Three years old, he started playing video games. That boy has awesome hand-eye coordination that I still don't have. He beats me and he embarrassed me. I mean, it was amazing just to see how good he was. And that boy started speaking, like his speech wasn't as proper. He didn't start speaking until I think he was 3-4 years old. That's when he started speaking really good. But he kind of was slow in his speech. But when it came to video game, that boy was awesome. Like I was amazed he knew how to turn on everything. He knew how to, strategize, and I'm sitting there, I'm listening to him.
He started off with Warcraft. Warcraft 3.
Wow. Yeah.
Like he could play, at 5 years old, he was playing Warcraft 3. And then, when he had to figure out that he had to get trees and gold and everything, and we just left him alone, like nobody helped him. He eventually he really figured it out. But he ended up learning that I have to do things in order for things to happen. So
he started playing League right before we left.
He did.
Yeah. So to answer that question, and I agree with Gary. Jordan actually brought a very good point. You have all these soccer moms, that you have all this sports in middle school, high school, college that people really support. But, if you do introduce video gaming, that would be awesome because then it's going to be socially acceptable. You won't have that stigma that video gaming culture has now. I mean, I think we're slowly getting over the hump, but it's still there. It's still there. Like if I introduce this to my family,
want to know about my kid.
I don't care about y'all's kid, but my kid.
but no, seriously, like if I took this to my family, you know, they'd be like, "Whoa, what are you
He's
talking
still waiting
about?"
for his
You know what I
answer.
mean?
Evading the question,
But-
Miss Goodwin.
Yes
but
or no?
To answer your question, Mr. Gary Goodwin,
No.
I would be happy, and that was something that I was
One for the culture.
when
Victory.
I first married him, and I thought I was like, oh, when we have kids, oh my gosh, you're gonna be like video gamers, blah blah blah. But you know what?
Blah, blah,
I don't
blah.
think it's a bad thing. I completely, honestly support it 100%.
Now what?
And
Win
that's
for the
what
culture.
exposure does.
Yeah.
But on a secondary question, what happens if your kid doesn't like video games?
Then
How are you gonna
know,
handle?
You support them in whatever they
We're
want.
not forcing them. It's just we want to let it be known that football can be just as important of a sport. Like video games can be just as important of a sport as football.
There's nothing wrong with giving your kid options.
Right. And I think that's the important thing is that we need to dissolve the stigma and make it acceptable.
Right.
Because that's what the problem is. Oh, I don't like video games. Well, that's fine. Go do regular.
And
But
the kids go
people
like,
who get like where like video games are gonna rot your brain, all that other stuff. You sit on the couch, you're lazy. That's the stigma that we need to dissolve.
I think one of the biggest thing was, you know how when I was growing up in Fiji, we had some stories from the States, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, there were some shooters that actually did that in real life because of playing video games, you know. So that was like the biggest thing people would talk about.
That's
No,
no.
Yeah, we're not gonna get
That is
Let us
a
not
whole
get into that.
nother
That's a whole
topic.
other conversation.
So-
That's me
so-
not shutting up.
But that's just
That's
like
a whole other thing on me going on the media.
Yeah, that's
with
the
that
stigma
being
thing,
said,
you know.
that being said, we're just going to bring things to a closing. It's been a fantastic breakfast, but we have a bonus question.
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh.
Bonus
This-
question for
mainly for the
everybody at
league
the
players.
table. All right. If everyone knows League of Legends, you know they know the little poros. Okay. Poros are like the most adorable thing. I'll show my wife a poro, and she'll be like, "Oh, you know, that's."
I
great."
want one.
But the question for everybody here is would you eat a poro?
Hell yeah!
Dom wasn't ready. Dom wasn't ready.
I really wasn't ready for that question. I'm not sure because like I have to be there while it's prepared. I have to see what it smells like. I have to really like take all this in.
We just showed her a
Because if
picture
it
of a
smells like
poro.
crap,
Smack you.
I want to taste the penguin. I will eat a poro.
because like that the big one that Poro Riders to Johnny rides, that might taste delicious, but I couldn't eat like one of the little big.
I could.
Hey,
I
wait,
want
wait.
one fried.
Bristol.
Can I have a?
I have a
Gary.
question to
Bristol.
counter that
Bristol,
question.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a freaking
Gary.
bacon.
I have a
Giant.
question to
I bet it
counter
tastes
that
like pig.
question.
If it tastes like pig, yes.
Hey,
Oh,
hey guys.
That means
Save
Phil
that
won't
picture.
eat it though.
Save that picture.
No.
Save that
Wait,
picture.
wait. I gotta ask this question.
I think Jagd would eat one.
Why?
Why would you eat a poro?
Why not?
Why?
I'm
Why?
hungry.
Just because.
We're part of the glutton.
Why do you eat cow?
Well,
Why do you eat pig?
Well, wait a second. Wait a second. Now, isn't it a sustainable resource? I mean, once they eat what, like 5 poro cookies?
Oh no, no!
Yeah.
They eat 10, they explode into like 10 poros.
Yeah.
I mean, that would end world hunger, wouldn't it?
Yo,
We're not running around here buying like rabbit burgers and
Hey,
stuff like
I
that
would if
because
I
they
could get
do-
10 burgers.
and mouse nuggets and stuff. No.
Rabbits, I feel need to be
you see
eaten
what's
more
been done?
because 1, they're delicious. 2, they're pests.
Okay, all right. So
Whoa.
Rude.
So
Nah, man,
we'll,
this mom's
we'll
not
go around the
yeah.
table.
I have a garden.
No.
You have a garden. You can tell me what's what. Until you take care of a garden, shut the fuck up.
So we'll go around the
CS:GO.
table, and we will hear from
And I
each
killed 3
individual.
rabbits so far.
Damn.
No, we will hear from each individual whether you would eat a poro or not. Do not even go like into grave detail. Just say kind of a blurb. Why not you would eat a poro? So we will start with George. Would you eat a poro?
Yes, I would like it fried.
All right. Jared.
Yes, I would eat a poro.
Why would...
It looks like giant boars.
Okay.
Boars are pigs. They are delicious.
All right.
High five.
Sure. I'd eat them in a house and I'd eat them with the mouth. I'd eat them anywhere.
Ben already said he would eat a poro.
I would eat a poro, but my main reasoning would be the fact that it is an Arctic creature, so there's a lot of fat on there. That's a lot of flavor.
Oh, we're going.
David, would you eat a poro?
Wait, seriously?
Sure, you'll let's try it once.
Okay, all right.
Maybe as a novelty, I might eat it.
Oh my god, that's like a
The sophisticated
tortoise,
white guy.
a Galapagos Island tortoise. He's like, yes.
Hey,
If it was rare, absolutely.
I'd eat a dodo.
What you got, Victor?
Wrapped in bacon and deep fried something.
Oh,
Yes! American!
I'll eat it just because of reasons.
all right. What about you, Phil?
He's gonna say no because everyone's brought up pork.
you in a real hug right
He
now.
wants to eat it, but he doesn't want to admit it.
Just like pork.
For being a Mitch digger.
Oh no.
We're not getting into Mitch
It's
Digger
not
right
bacon.
now. That's
It's
not
not
pork.
That's
It's
a podcast.
poro.
on its own.
It's a
It's his own class.
It's its own class. It's not bacon.
It's not porco. It's poro.
That's the slogan.
Dan, would you make porgogi? Would you make porgogi?
Hey,
Goddamn right. I
the
would.
Spam equivalent to poros or porcos.
Okay, all right. I would eat a poro only if it were an animal we were just used to eating. That's it. Like dogs are ate overseas, but we don't really eat them here in America. So
We eat rabbits here in America.
yeah, but still, like, I think the poro's cute. I think I would have it around the shop.
I would have one.
And
as a
then when
pet.
we was
It'd
really
be like
hungry,
raising pigs as killed.
fry the grill.
That is your pig. And then you raise it and you eat it for dinner.
At the same time, we need to judge other people.
I'm
for
sorry,
having to
Steven,
use what
but
they have.
I'm hungry.
All right, Dipsy, would you eat a poro?
No, it's too cute. It's like,
See? Yeah.
I
look
want
at
to
that.
eat a
big.
butterfly.
It has hearts.
Wait till it
I'll eat
starts
its
peeing
heart
on
too.
everything and
Hearts
chews
not,
your
hearts
shoes.
not included.
Give it 10 biscuits to see what happens.
Garrett.
I would eat it. I would eat it just like Vader would.
Yeah, just
Wrapped in bacon.
bacon. Yeah.
Yeah, deep fried, wrapped in bacon.
All right.
Kind of-
Beer con? I've
Miss-
never heard of that one.
Well, Mr. Zodiac, go ahead and bring us to a close.
All right.
All right.
I think he's saying beer can.
I know.
Thank you guys for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening to this really amazing thing that we're able to pull together.
Yeah, OTG having breakfast together, that's awesome.
Even
Yes.
with 11 people podcast.
And IHOP fucking up our order.
Fuck off!
All right.
I want a splasher now.
I want my
I
chocolate
want my damn splasher.
I want my
still think
pancakes
that's a
in
splasher.
So,
I would man-free pancakes.
Wait.
What is a splasher?
Mango. It's some awesomeness that's in that drink.
Mango! That's it. That's all I know.
all right.
That's all I say. I said mango.
All right, guys.
Mango.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All
Did
right.
you know IHOP was serving poros now?